Oh my goodness gracious.
Good to be back, Terry. It's good to be back.
We're back in the saddle. A few episodes down under our belt, and we are weary in well-doing. Stirring the pot, we are the Jim and Terry Show, coming to you from downtown Bobcaygeon.
Yeah, I'm sure the bleeding will stop once I put something on this.
Why bring, what is the expression? Harrison Ford being attacked by a guy with a big samurai sword in one of his movies, takes out a pistol and shoots him.
Yeah, I love that. You know, there's another Indiana Jones, and he's in it.
Wow, he's reprising.
It's coming out.
Is he still going to be Indiana Jones, or is he now some older professor?
He's an older professor, but he's Indiana Jones still.
Indiana Jones?
I think he still goes. They have to.
He's not the main character, is he?
I think he is. Yes, I think he's the main character. But he's in a different suit. Like he looks like he's retired, and all this. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. Maybe he'll open the cupboard, and there'll be his suit hanging there with the hat and
the whip.
Yeah, and he'll grab that and go into town.
Yeah, I read something about archaeology, and they were saying that it's a shame that the Indiana Jones films came out to represent archaeologists as the Indiana Jones type. They said most of it is field work with little brushes, uncovering little bits of rock and stone.
Not running into caves.
Not running into caves and escaping terrorists and Nazis and whatever.
Well, anyways, this show we were going to talk about, is there going to be war over Taiwan?
Yeah, let's start with Taiwan and then just talk about war in general.
It sucks.
Taiwan. Recently,
what did I say?
Recently, the Chinese National, what do they call them? The Chinese People's Party, CPP, Chinese People Party, whatever they call their government, have conducted military exercises for the last couple of weeks surrounding the island of Taiwan. Now, if you want to talk about provocation,
well, yeah, and don't forget. In this situation, the United States has said we will defend Taiwan. So they're not saying maybe if you attack it, you're at war. So I'm concerned about that because...
Those are absolute terms.
Yeah, and that's what the American government has said to Taiwan. Now, we've had two top officials be there. Nancy Pelosi was there a week ago or whatever, and just a couple of days ago was... somebody else from the American government.
I think Pelosi was there before McCarthy became leader.
And then McCarthy's there.
And then McCarthy, as the new leader of the House, has come.
Yeah, and so they're there to show support. Now,
what are you saying, Jim? They're there?
They're there. And my concern is this, is because they've gone through war exercises, computer war simulations. And they came to the conclusion, Americans did, they came to the conclusion that China would lose.
Yeah.
But whoa, the cost, like 2 battle aircraft carriers of the United States, like 100 jets, 20 boats.
I heard it was half the Air Force.
Or half the Air Force, something like unbelievable loss of life.
Then what do you do with the destroyed country? What would be left of China?
Well...
What would be left of Taiwan?
China,
it's an island.
Don't forget China being one of those countries where you can just say you're now in the army. So we know Revelation, there's going to be an attack of 200 million men coming from the east. I think we all think that's probably China. It may be China and India combined, but that's an army that they can put together. That's a huge amount of just throwing people at a problem. And let's face it.
Sounds like Russia and Ukraine.
Well, it is. And what happens is part of the defending of Ukraine is that Russia expends all its military might trying to fight this country. So you just keep that war going. And I heard this years ago about, they're all talking about the cabal and the dark thing. But somebody said, no, the plan is you have a war going on. And you just keep supplying the loser. Keeps the war going on. It trims down the people. It diminishes the military of the other side. And so now when you've got Ukraine, you've got all this coalition of nations that are supplying Ukraine, holding off Russia. Russia is now looking to China in places. And we just found out Saudi Arabia maybe have just sent them 40,000 missiles.
To Russia?
Egypt just apparently sent 40,000 missiles to Russia under the table. because they're supposed to be an ally of the United States.
Not under the table if you know about it.
Well, it was one of those leaked things, one of these leaked things.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about the Pentagon leak. I'm not even sure what was leaked, but not good stuff.
Do you ever think that we're all being duped?
Yeah.
In other words, the leaks are intentional for subterfuge and
Maybe.
to confuse everybody. You and I are confused at the best of times.
Well,
It doesn't take a leak to take us off the
this
trail.
latest leak was apparently some kid had a tour of the joint or something and wasn't watched. And he's an online gamer. And part of being an online gamer is you brag about stuff. And he bragged about the papers he got. Lo and behold, they were real. Somebody with a mind.
Where did you get that information?
Just this morning.
Okay.
Well, I was trying not to pay attention.
It begs the question of where are our sources? What's real and what's not?
Well,
What's
that's what
fake
I'm saying. Like, I mean, how bad is it, buddy, if you're letting kids be able to get top secret? Now the Pentagon's saying, well, there's a lot of people that have access rights, but why do they need them? They don't need them. It should just be a need to know.
I am reminded that Jared Kushner could not pass the muster to be vetted for secret classification, but Trump forced that classification.
Well, there you go.
So anybody can get any classification you want.
Yeah.
Somebody just has to say.
But I mean, we're slipping. Everything's
all right.
slipping up.
Let's go back to the notion of war. I'm not sure about the 200 million man. I know that's part of your belief system and you follow that. I'm not sure about any of that in terms of prophecy and Armageddon. And that's kind of, I've got mixed feelings about it.
I only said that about throwing people at it. Iran did it
just to say that there's a whole bunch.
Iran did it with Iraq. They just threw kids,
Yes.
women, old men, just everybody into the battlefield.
That was the Iran-Iraq
That's all I
war.
meant by that.
Yes. Well, that's a good equivalency to say desperate people do desperate things. And I'm reminded of the way Hitler funded his or kept the war going on his end as the Allies are closing in, the Americans and British and French allies from the West, and then the Russians coming from the East. And he's being squeezed. So, yeah, old men and young boys were recruited for the armed forces.
And some of them just had sticks.
Just had sticks, and that's what they found. So, yeah, it's a terrible situation. Now, getting back to this, and war simulations and war games and the U.S. Winning, I would hate to think that it comes down to that.
I would too, Terry. I don't want it.
And I don't want the destruction. Not just the economic destruction of capabilities of industrial nations to build stuff. I mean, we need productivity as a human species. We need countries to be working together, not to be saying, I just don't get it, not to be saying, we're going to attack you and kill you because we want you.
Yeah.
That's what Russia's saying to Ukraine. We want you annihilated. You should not exist. You are not even a race of people. You have no entitlement to be called Ukraine or Ukrainians. You are not, you do not exist, and we're going to make sure you don't exist. And China's saying that about Taiwan. But Taiwan, if they wanted to be part of China, they would have been.
Yeah, they
part
don't want to
of
be a part of China.
They
They're
don't.
a very prosperous country on
Right,
their own.
so let them.
Well, Canada showed the world how it's done, if you want to know the truth. Sort of. When Quebec wanted to leave, I remember the arguments with Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the elder Trudeau.
Good thing you're old enough.
But I do remember them saying that. I was probably one, no, just send the military. I might have been that guy. I don't remember. But he said, no, if they vote to separate, they separate. And now as a mature human being, I see that. There's no sense in having somebody if they don't want to be.
Not by force.
Yeah. So Taiwan is going to fight you. Taiwan said, we will fight you. We are ready. That's what Taiwan said.
Yes.
We're ready to defend our country. So they have a huge military as well, built up as best they can for a little teeny nation. Doesn't look like it's much bigger than maybe Lake Ontario and Erie put together or something. You know, it looks small to me. I know someone who lives there.
Got inside information?
No, no, but I mean, how horrible for my friend. His son lives there. So, you know, how horrible would that be if war broke out? Because jeepers, I can't imagine the amount of missiles that could come from China. I just can't imagine. And what would they do? Like most dictators or power-hungry people, they kill everything.
Okay, so here's a hypothetical for you. Feel free to answer or decline to answer or dance around it as you wish. If you're going to go to war with China, which is one of 3 major dictatorships, is Russia another one? So now it's a 2-front war. Is North Korea another one? That's
Yes,
a 3-front
I think
war.
so, yeah.
Then
I think it's World War.
we're talking about World War.
Yeah, I think World War
Okay.
is very possible.
So-
I hope not, but it's very possible.
So Taiwan, China is not a world war. It is a war between Taiwan and China. U.S. will defend it. Now, if I understand right, there's an equivalent for the NATO for the Southeast Asia group, which includes Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines, and a number of other nations that have the China Sea is sort of where they're around, and China's of course claiming all kinds of territory and building man-made islands to extend their territorial claim. So does China need to be slapped back? And by slap back, that's a gentle term to say war.
Well, I don't think it's going to be if. I mean, the United States has said we will go to war. So Taiwan is what we're going to go to war over. And if China insists that they're taking Taiwan and they're insisting that they're going to do that, and they're showing great muscle and flexing it, to me it's inevitable unless Christ returns or something to stop this from happening. And it could be horrible even for us. We've never really had missiles flying over our country, but that you could see, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
Thank God you live in Bob Cajun. I don't think it's a target.
No, but I did live in Pickering where the nuclear powers. Nuclear! Another N-word from Donald Trump.
Oh.
Nuclear. One of the 2 N-words that you never say, but he says it a lot. Interview with Tucker Carlson.
I thought nuts was one of them, but it's not nuts. Can't be nuts.
Nuts should have been one. Maybe there are 3 of them. Count your N-words. Send them into the Jim and Terry Show. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.